Hello friends, welcome back to our channel Mystery Recaps. Today, I will show you the 2017 horror mystery film Rings. There are spoilers ahead. Watch out and be cautious. A video is currently playing on a monitor and is about to descend. A man becomes anxious when the woman next to him initiates his conversation. He immediately informs her of a videotape that, according to legend, kills you 7 days after viewing it. The man had met the woman who sent him the video exactly 1 week prior. He located an old VCR and played the tape upon its completion. The phone rings, and a female voice informs him that he has. After 7 days, everything had become peculiar. Suddenly, his nose begins to bleed, and he rushes to the loo. He is in the lavatory. When strange events begin to occur, a second woman knocks on his door and requests a copy of the tape, stating that she, too, has seen it. Suddenly, the strange video begins to play on all of the plane's monitors. The man panics as he attempts to avoid a black liquid that is leaking from the toilet. As the plane begins to descend, a girl with long hair can be seen emerging from the monitors. Sky encounters a VCR at a bazaar 2 years later. Gabriel approaches her and informs her he will purchase it. The individual selling the antiques had informed him that they belonged to the deceased pilot. Later, as Gabriel attempts to repair the VCR, an old tape emerges. Sky is about to leave his residence when he asks her if she would like to watch the video with him. She leaves in a hurry, so he decides to watch it on his own. The tape initially does not work, but when he goes to light a cigar, the VCR begins to function. He views the peculiar tape. A woman can be seen brushing her hair, as well as the reflection of a girl with long hair. The video concludes with a shot of the woman jumping off a cliff. The girl calls Gabriel and informs him that he has 7 days to live. A fly emerges from his cigar. Gabriel approaches the window to break it and observes that the rain is falling in the wrong direction. Julia is lying in her bed while Hole tells her the tale of Orpheus. They are about to kiss when his alarm goes off. She informs him he must pack for college. Hold Steady is loading his luggage into the trunk, indicating that they must depart. They say their farewells, and he drives away to college. 6 weeks later, they communicate via Skype. He describes his classes and informs her that it will be 1 week before he returns home. His friends suddenly appear and drag him away to a party. The next day, she awaits his text message response. That night, she has a wet dream about Holden that quickly devolves into a nightmare, causing her to awaken screaming. She receives an unexpected call from Hawkeye. However, when she answers, it is Sky asking where he is. She is distorting her face as she informs Julia that Holt is a walking corpse because the girl is coming for him and cannot be stopped. She calls him on his phone after the call is dropped, but he does not answer. Julia packs her belongings and drives to see Holden while driving. She continues to leave him voicemails. The following day, she visits his campus. Julia knocks on his door, and when she receives no response, she enters. She discovers his phone on the ground and reads his text messages from Sky, which instruct him to meet her after biology class. Julia takes a key from his whiteboard and examines his class schedule to determine when he has that class. Later, Gabriel is observed lecturing. There he is. As soon as Professor Julia enters the classroom, he calls attention to her. After Gabriel concludes his lecture, Julia approaches him to speak. Gabriel informs her that he cannot recall him and that she should move on, as he may have found someone else. Julia disbelieves this. He is unaware of Holt. Therefore, she follows him. She observes which floor he exited and, unable to choose the same floor, takes the second lift. She utilizes the key she discovered in Holt's dormitory. As soon as she exits the lift, she notices a television. There is a camera mounted on it that records the entry of each person. She discovers Gabriel's book on the mystery of Samara. Gabriel instructs her to return home and wait for someone to arrive to view the video. Julia observes several screens with active countdowns, one of which includes Holt's name. She runs after Sky and inquires as to why she was called and where she can find Hope. Sky tells her that she can assist her, but that she must first demonstrate something. As soon as they enter Sky's residence, she sits down at her computer. Julia observes Sky's telephone ringing. Julia texts Holt in response to his text message. He inquires whether she's with Skye as she cues a copy of the video for her to watch. Hall warns her against watching the video. Skye discovers that Julia has her phone and a fight ensues. Samara raises the screen and emerges from it, pursuing Skye. She attempts to flee, but Samara pursues her relentlessly and kills her. Julia hears screams and peers through the door's keyhole. Samara suddenly appears at the door. She unlocks it, and when it opens, Julia can see Skye's body on a chair. She runs towards the apartment door, but realizes she needs a key to get out. Julia walks over to Skye's body to take her keys, and when she sees her face, she freaks out. She unlocks the door, and Holt appears in front of the place, asking her what happened and if she's seen the video. Julia tells him that Skye is dead. Later that night, Holt calls Gabriel. The professor is familiar with Skye and informs him that people have begun leaving the observation circle. There, the tape is a doorway. Holt explains that you have 7 days after viewing the tape to find someone to watch it with you. And you're safe. Julia is angry with him for getting involved in such an activity. Later, she awakens next to Holt and notices a handprint on his back. Julia stands up and watches Holt's video copy. It contains disturbing and bizarre images. The image concludes with the phrase, "The phone rings." Julia receives the 7 days notice. She has a vision of a door whose handle burns her hand when she touches it. Holt awakens and she informs him that she observed it. When Gabriel calls, he informs him that she will need someone to view the video for her. Later, as they are driving to Gabriel, Julia observes a bird crashing through the window, and they narrowly avoid an accident. Holt doesn't see the bird. She exits the vehicle and discovers the bird flapping on the street. When she is almost struck by a truck, Holt pulls her to safety. Holt informs Gabriel, upon their arrival at Gabriel's residence, that, unlike the others, she was marked on the first day, which indicates that the curse is altering as they scan Julia's hand. Gabriel informs them that he was in error regarding what? The significance of the tape and the experiment. He instructs Julia on what she must do to survive. Gabriel asserts that it has no place there. They will retrieve his equipment from his office. He examines the video and extracts information from the additional still frames in Julia's copy. A video embedded within another video. Holt joins her to watch the video, but Gabriel suggests that it may be intended for Julia alone. She convinces him to allow her to watch it alone. He gives her his hand. The video differs greatly from its previous form. She describes what she observes. In a flood, there is a girl and a clock. She observes a body in flames. At the end of Samara is a door. According to Gabriel, these images have never appeared on the tape before. Additionally, he explains that in some cultures, burning the body also frees the spirit. Julia recalls seeing the cross before, and she demonstrates it to them. Gabriel informs her that this is where Samara was interred. The moment Julia states that it is where they must go, the phone rings. Gabriel has been informed that the police are on their way. He will remain behind to speak with the police because he feels responsible for Skye's death. Before they depart, he provides them with all of his Samara and tape-related research. Julia and Holt drive to her church of burial. She claims that the tape depicts Samara's story, which she desired to be told. As a child, the girl was abandoned, and no one knew where she came from. When she was adopted, they discovered that she possessed a dark nature. She informs them that the girl vanished 30 years ago, and that she does not wish to discuss it further. They walk into an Aya meeting at the church. They search the area, but are unable to locate anything they believe could be useful. They depart. Hold. Ask the man about the church and why it closed as he explains that a flood was the cause. Julia and keep her at the cemetery while she searches for Anar's grave. Julia discovers an unmarked one and experiences a flashback from the video relating to it. She calls Hold over, then listens to a sound emanating from the grave, finds her, and informs him that Samar is present. They excavate the grave but find no one inside. Julia believes that she has been moved by someone. She sees an inscription on the tombstone and then crawls inside. The inscription reads, "Julia, she will find you." She suddenly becomes entrapped in the grave and hears something behind her. Her phone begins to play the video. On the video, chains are visible and they suddenly appear on Julia's arm. She is dragged through the grave until she reaches the well. Burke welcomes them inside. He inquires over tea as to how they discovered her grave. Julia describes the vision that brought them there, as well as the inner vision she had. Burke explains how the body arrived in their town. Their priest wanted to give her a final resting place, but the town nearly perished as a result. The officer stops Holt, who then pursues her vision along the road. It leads her to a crashed car containing Gabriel. Julia runs over to him, awakening him. Gabriel dies as he tries to tell her about the inscription on her hand as Holt runs towards them and pulls her aside, and time runs out before she is crushed. Later, Holt brings his bag and explains that Gabriel had something to say. According to Julia, the girl also wanted to share something with them. She has a connection to Samara. She states that they must return to the hotel. Julia claims to be able to feel her pain and suffering. Holt departs to return with some food, leaving her alone. Julia removes the flooring and discovers a trapdoor beneath. The woman describes the girl to Holt. She reports that she has just vanished. Julia travels beneath the church and discovers a room. She recognizes the pregnant woman's jumper and the birdcage from the video. Julia suddenly hears someone behind her and realizes that the priest had kept the girl below. As soon as she turns around, the girl vanishes, and Julia has a vision of the past state of the room. There is pounding on the front door, and she walks and opens the door. Inside, Julia shines her torch. Then, another vision of the girl appears. She discovers chains on the floor and dates written on the wall. The girl was confined indoors. He inquires about her knowledge, and she reveals what she has learned about the girl. Julia asserts that the curse will continue until she is liberated. Holt returns to the motel and discovers that she has left. Burke informs Julia that he was certain he would father a child who would alter the course of history. When she attempts to flee, he demonstrates that he chose his own side and pins her to the ground. Because he moved her bones, Julia realizes that he is Samara's father and that she is still his prisoner. Julia runs but is unable to leave the house. Burke turns off every light and searches for her. He informs her that she is the 12th person to search for Samara and that she cannot bring her peace, but will instead unleash hell on the world. Burke locates her and strikes her. In the meantime, Holt is running to his residence. Julia is being pursued by the priest, who claims he will not permit her to set Samara free. He chained up the girl because she attempted to murder their child, though he should have let her go. They struggle, and he falls down the stairs as a result. In the meantime, Holt enters the home and hears Julia upstairs. He searches the house for her and reaches the staircase. When the priest discovers something on the ground, he knocks him unconscious. Julia rips through the wall and discovers the remnants of tomorrow. Additionally, work begins to strangle her. Samira appears on the phone of Julia. In a second vision, Samara begs Julia not to abandon her. Samira removes herself from Julia's phone. When Burke hears her, he turns around and she heals his eyes. Finally, he looks at her and dies like the others. Holt awakens and discovers Julia. She informs him that it is not yet over. They are observed burning. Some hour remains that night. Julia claims to be free. Holt finally listens to Gabriel's voicemail, which states that the inscription on Julia's hand is in Braille while Julia is taking a shower. The scan of her poem is located in one of Holt's books. In the meantime, Julia observes a broken callus on her palm. She is fixated on it. When she emerges from the shower, Julia begins to suffocate and pulls hair strands and a hairbag from her throat. A fly emerges from it. Julia looks at herself in the mirror and then has another vision of Samara, declaring that the violence will not cease. Julia's Braille inscription is translated by Hall. Before he reaches the final letter, the computer malfunctions, sending Julia's video to all of her contacts. When the translation is complete, the word rebirth is displayed. He contacts Julia. She is observing her reflection in the mirror, and when she wipes off the vapor, she transforms into Samara. Be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you can view similar videos. Thank you for viewing.